And now I'm going to welcome in the studio Jamie Cason, the head of external developer relations at Miniclip. And he's going to tell us what to look for in a publisher. Do we have Jamie here?
Hey, Eleanor.
Hey, how are you today?
All is well. How are you?
Oh, beautiful. I'm very well too. Thank you. Where are you based?
I'm in the UK. I live about 100 kilometers outside London. Our office is in London. So during the lockdown times, I've been working in my lovely home office here.
Yeah. Well, what's your, I don't know, favorite thing about London?
My favorite saying, but well, there's the classic saying about London: when you're tired of London, you're tired of life. I think it's genuinely true. There are many wonderful cities, but that's definitely my kind of hometown.
Oh, I kind of want to go there again, you know. Hope we'll be able to travel very soon.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks a lot for joining, and we're super excited to listen to your presentation. The studio is all yours.
Cool. Thank you, Eleanor. Hello, everyone, wherever you may be. I hope that you're well, your families are well, and you're continuing to thrive with your teams and make games, which is what we love to do. So yes, as Eleanor mentioned, my name is Jamie Cason. I'm the head of external developer relations at Miniclip. So just a bit of background on me. My role is to look at our developer relations, really to make sure that developers that we work with are successful in the dealings that we have with them. I work with a number of external teams, and together with them, we're looking to deliver traffic and revenue in our publishing operation. I look after the process of partner discovery, relationship development and maintenance, really just there to be the voice to the developer, you know, to listen to their concerns and to help them through the relationship. And I work very closely with people on internally at Miniclip at a product level, coordinating external development teams with specialist product, QA, performance marketing, player experience, business intelligence guys inside the company who are providing service to the product through the life cycle of the publishing operation. So today I wanted to give you some background on Miniclip if you're not familiar with the company, or if you know it historically, as we have been around for a little while now and have gone through many phases in our growth as an organization, and relate some of our experience in publishing. And what I'd love to do is to really target sort of independent developers, probably by the key audience for this talk, to use us as an example of what you might look for in a publisher. And so, you know, those guys with products that are either in or coming to the market, you might be in a position where you're considering a publishing partnership of one form or another, and really just to highlight the things that I would think that, you know, you'd want to look into. So yeah, we're both a publisher and a developer, and we not only publish other people's games, we publish our own games. We reach 250 million monthly active users worldwide. And I think what's important in any partnership is that you have a good understanding, certainly of the publisher's culture, which you really want to align with your own culture or see some affinity there. As a publisher, you want to know that they have some scale, or they at least reach an audience which is meaningful to your product. You want to understand their portfolio, the genres that they specialize in, again, just to make sure, you know, of course, that there's an affinity there, there's a specialism that they can apply to your product. You want to think about the model of the partnership, what both sides are going to be contributing. Obviously, you're looking for that kind of jigsaw-like fit, where you as a developer are bringing a product that, for instance, we couldn't make or wouldn't make, but we admire and we think we can bring to market. And you, of course, have the skills to deliver that and run the thing as a live operation. And then from a publisher, you know, you're going to be looking at a suite of publishing services, and you may need more or less of one of them. You may need all of them, you may need only one thing in particular, but being very clear, what it is you need and what you want to get out of the relationship, I think is super important. So culturally, you really want to know, if you're going into any relationship, you want to know where your partner comes from. Where are they based? What are the key functions and the key people that you'll be dealing with? And in Miniclip's case, we're a global publisher. We were founded in 2001, so we've been around 19, getting on for 20 years now. We've grown from a startup business, and many game developers, independent game developers, of course, come from that background. They've walked that mile in those shoes as well. But now we're about 400 people in different countries. We have a headquarters in Switzerland. I work in our London office, which has some commercial, financial, legal and marketing functions. Our primary development studio is in Lisbon in Portugal. And a lot of the folks who working our publishing operation are based there. And we have a specialist 3D studio in Genova in Italy, who are very top-class Unity developers. You can see here an illustration of Jürgen, who's our CEO. And sort of by this illustration, this gives you something of the spirit of our company. And I think, we like to try and make work fun. Historically, we've always had a motto in our company, which is work hard, play harder. But I think this is really important because you really need to understand, sort of get under the skin of the culture of the organization that you potentially are partnering with. We have very strongly held values in our company. We like to try and be different, to not necessarily follow, to understand the market, but not necessarily follow the market, to be playful and fun, as I've mentioned. We value entrepreneurialism, smart thinking when it comes to product development, live operations, understanding the market. But also, we like to value authenticity and modesty and humility. And I think in any relationship, humility, knowing that you don't always have the answer. We don't believe that we always have the answer. So you don't want to get into a relationship with people who are arrogant. And I think we probably all more or less had experience of that. Crucially, you just want to make sure that your aims going into the partnership are aligned with what your partner wants to get out of it. Miniclip games you may know: 8-Ball Pool, Agario, Golf Battle, Football Strike, Carom. You'll see a pattern there, and we'll touch on in a minute the importance of portfolio and genre specialism. The second point that I would make then is the audience mix. You want to understand the scale of the partner. One of the key things they should be offering you is promotion to their network, however they may do that, depending on what kind of company, what kind of organization that they are. In Miniclip's case, as I've mentioned, we're a pretty large scale organization now in terms of our reach: 250 million monthly active users, 50 million daily active users. And you can see the mix is predominantly male. So, getting that right, of course, certain games play to that audience, others don't so much. And you can see the age range there, 18 to 45. So sort of a good adult range there, but also you should be interested in the geographic mix of the audience of your partner. Are they particularly big in a certain territory? Does that mean something to your product? Do you see your product going to a certain territory? Some things are very culturally specific and need particular support. I think crucially and generally, understanding how well your partner can help you reach audiences in tier 1, those high value players who are often hard to reach just by virtue of the marketing landscape being very competitive. It's very expensive to reach those high value players in performance marketing. So, how many of those guys can you reach? I think we would claim to have a very healthy mix of tier 1 players in our audience. So another point on scale, for us, we're very, very fortunate to be reported as the 6th largest by download of all games publishers. And these are figures from the first half of this year. And we're in great company, sitting alongside teams like Plagiary, who we're very fortunate to have a business relationship with as well, and publishing their game Bowmasters on Android. But you can see, there are companies in this mix who are publishers. At the top there, you see the hyper casual guys with terrific scale, and obviously you need to find out what's the most appropriate mix of scale and audience affinity for you. In our case, we're also the #1 sports games publisher. In fact, we're as big as the next 3 combined, and that's a product of our specialism over a number of years, and is driven mainly by 8-Ball Pool, but we have some significant games in other sports themes. But size isn't always everything. If you can find a partner that's a good cultural fit, that shares your values, shares your understanding of the opportunity that you present or that you'd like to realize, and with objectives that closely align with yours, then that's the most important thing. So moving on to the mix of genres and portfolio. As I mentioned, in Miniclip's case, our core expertise is in casual sports games, and you can see some of those titles that I mentioned there, and it spans a number of sports, and a number of our titles are both in-house developed and externally developed through our publishing operation. But by studio acquisitions in the recent past, last couple of years, we've expanded our portfolio. So actually we include also now more mid-core titles in the shooter genre, and you'll see illustrated there on the left 8-Pixel Squared Sniper Strike, and also over on the right we are now marketing matching puzzle games with Ilion's Bubble Shooter and Q-Brush Adventure. But of course, you guys should look into this expertise and this fit for you when you're considering the best publisher of your game. In our case, we are expanding our remit somewhat. We are looking at different genres now, and so you might find that your publisher is sort of moving into new territory as you make the discussion of the potential deal. You really need to make sure you know what each of you is bringing to the relationship. In our case, we look to our partners, I think, primarily to have developed a game that we wouldn't make, that would fit within our strategy. We may not have thought of that game concept, but certainly guys who are bringing us effectively finished games or ready to market games that don't require funding, what we would call third-party publishing, they would tend to fit within our portfolio strategy and fit our vision of a present opportunity, where we see the chance to work with a developer who we like, who maybe has a strong idea but needs a different kind of deal with funding. Then we would work with them to bring that title, that chance up to speed to take to market. In the end, we'll be looking for partners who can provide the live operations, who can kind of run the game and keep the content pipeline flowing and up to date. They're going to be responsible for their own technology, more or less. They're going to be able to provision both art and a degree of quality assurance on their side. And on our side, we would provide a range of services, which might include in-house analytics, providing the networking for in-game advertising and monetization, very strongly performance marketing and UA, cross-promotion to our network. We can give support in setting up the server infrastructure and ensuring that's scalable. We can give support on running communities, on the player experience side, customer support, and we do a lot of work liaising with the platforms, which is pretty crucial to any marketing effort. So now I'll just run through a few examples from the Miniclip case of things and the kinds of things that maybe you could expect or you could look for. I'll speak first about a game that we've released this year called Ultimate Golf. It's a realistic multiplayer golf game. It features real golf courses, and so we've launched this at scale. It's a third-party product, so the external team had a more or less finished, ready to market, certainly ready to soft launch product that they brought to us at the end of last year. You can see that it's sports. It fits very well in our portfolio, but we were able to provide a range of services, but I'll call out a few here to contribute on the product side by borrowing effectively from our playbook of what's worked well in terms of features, in particular monetizing feature, which we added to the game before the launch, and it created the highest revenue generating feature in the game at that launch. We did a lot of creative service work to redesign the game identity as part of a brand definition piece of work, and all the marketing assets then followed that brand definition. And we improved the install to impression rate of guys hitting the store pages to the installation by 27%. We also did some technical work in the background. We helped the guys redesign and refine their infrastructure. Scalability, of course, is super important. So when you go to market at scale, you don't want the game to fall over and to lose all those players that you've had to acquire at great expense. This then goes to how we worked on the marketing side. We got 2 million new users in the first 30 days, and this is by a combination of the things I've mentioned before. We were able to cross-promote the game through some of our other titles, using the graphics and the identity that we developed. This included marketing to 15 million daily active users in pool, and we actually have a mechanism whereby we can incentivize folks to install the new game by offering them content in the originating game. We still have a very healthy website, and so we do takeovers and promotions on there, both on desktop and mobile. I mentioned earlier on the relationship with the stores. I think this is crucial. You really want your publisher to be able to handle that side of things for you, to augment that. Obviously, the stores are inundated with guys looking for featuring and promotion, and there I think there are certain things that they're looking for that might change over time. They tend to have sort of ways that they deal with and handle different folks, and so having that kind of longer term relationship with them, having their ear, being able to work with providing assets that's most likely to get you featuring, as in the case of Ultimate Golf. We were able to hit #1 in the sports category in 50 countries, partly by our user acquisition work, but also by these featuring on both the App Store and the Google Play Store. As I mentioned, this was also supplemented by a 7-figure UA budget for launch, and that's a big part of a publishing operation. You want someone who's going to be able to invest in your title to scale it quickly, to find its audience and find its long-term position in the market. Another example I call out, this is a slightly different game, more casual game from a studio which Miniclip has acquired, Masomo in Turkey. They already had a very successful game, which is why we acquired them, Headball 2. And part of our support of them as a studio within our group of companies was, of course, to apply some of our marketing technique and practice. In this case, we relaunched that game. We were able to double the DAU and increase downloads 5 times. And so that included paid user acquisition, cross promotion, but also influencer marketing, as well as store featuring. We do this for our own titles. And I would say, if you're a developer and you can find a publisher who's also a developer, I think, there are pros and cons to that. As developers ourselves, we understand, I think, in a way that a non-developing publisher doesn't understand, the trials and tribulations of making content. Here is an example of quite a culturally specific game. It's very popular in South Asia. It's part of our strategic objective to reach players in that emerging market. But for this slide, we developed a partnership with an influencer, this guy Haji Ali, who is sort of like, if you know the Who's Tommy, I don't think he is deaf, dumb, and blind kid, but he is effectively the deaf, dumb, and blind kid of Karom. And he was part of a campaign that enabled us to have this incredible growth on this product. 7-figure DAU at launch, which then increased by over 350% by activities like this. Very niche, targeted work. So just a bit more on the genres that we're now considering as we expand. Definitely across the range of sports, including racing. We're looking at shooters much more actively, and also puzzle games, as I mentioned, as we expand our portfolio by acquisition. So again, just to reinforce that point, do look out for your publisher's ability to back up what they say they can do by practical example. In our case, we're about to launch a couple of relaunch effectively and boost launch 2 shooter products in the market. Minimilitia, which was a title which we acquired from an external developer and have kind of completely rebooted and remade, and Sniper Strike, which is, as I mentioned, one of our portfolio studio titles, which will be benefiting from our performance marketing shortly. That's the end of the presentation for me. So just to reiterate, what you should look out for your publishing relationships is good cultural fit, making sure that they have both the scale and the audience that's going to fit your game, that they have expertise in the genres in which you're working, that you've got a good, if you like, and I would say bespoke model for the partnership. So just make sure you know what you're bringing to it and what value your publisher is going to give you in return, and just make sure that those publishing services are well defined. That's it. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you for the presentation. We do have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay. The very first one from Frank Salas. He's asking if publishers work only per project base, or are actually open to working with companies with multiple entry bases, and actually give an example as well. So they are in gaming, B2B corporate, VR learning, and VR for wellness industry. Would they approach you for just one project, or would you be open to consider all of them?
I think it depends. Yeah, it depends on, I guess, the opportunity. I think generally, we are interested in making long-term relationships. So usually if we start on a project, we'd have at least an idea of, well, let's see how we go with one title, but always have in mind that, both sides are investing into this relationship. So you really want to make that investment something long term. So we may not necessarily sign up for a sort of portfolio of things, certainly from a new partner from the outset, but we'd always enter into it thinking, okay, what's this going to be like in 5 years? Where is this going to go? a lot of this stuff is really like personal relationships. You know, you get into personal relationships. Well, not everyone does, but usually you get into them thinking, you know, I'm investing something myself. I'm giving up something of myself. You know, where are we going to go? You know, and what are we going to achieve together? What we're going to experience together in the future?
Thank you. Well, I guess you have a lineup of metrics that you're looking for in a developer. And
Yes.
but has it ever happened to you that, you know, you see a game, the metrics is not really good, like the numbers, but you just love the idea so much that you just want to go for it? Has it ever happened to you?
Yes, I think we have. We probably have a number of examples, and you know, as in any entertainment industry, it's a hit business, and nobody knows anything. You know, you can kind of go by data, and we like to be, you know, certainly data informed, if not data led, and that's always an important part of the mix. Um, uh, it's always helpful if there is a signal of something, you know. So if, say, you know, the organic installations are great, or you know, the day one retention might not be great, but the day 30 retention, you know, might actually be quite strong. So, you know, there's something that could be fixed or addressed in one or other place. But certainly, you know, creative people, if they have vision, if they have drive, you know, they can overcome resistance, and you know, in the end, it's about convincing each other that the effort is worth it, because in the end, you're going to have to convince, if you like, the people at home, as I would say, the people at home, to install your game and to try it and to come back again and to come back again and to come back again and pay. That needs to be in the spirit of the thing, you know, one way or another. And anything that doesn't have that, even if it has great metrics, will die.
Mm-hmm. Thanks very much for the explanation. We have one more question for you from Vladimir Koveshnikov. He's actually asking, he's got an extraordinary, quote, idea of sports game and can create only prototype. So is this actually a good idea to ask you for money, not only for publishing, but for the development part as well?
Yes, I mean, I think what we would do, obviously, we'd need to look at the idea and evaluate it. It's great that there could be a prototype. I think, you know, that's the first part of any development anyway. And certainly what we tend to do is we think of, you know, first party as our own internal development. Third party is where, you know, usually reasonably mature teams have effectively finished products, either sort of ready to go or soft launch, or, you know, have some metrics that we can base a business decision from. But we also have the idea of second party. So in second party, you know, these could be prototypes, they could be ideas on paper, they could be, you know, there could be any number of ways of expressing this idea, again, creating those reasons to believe. And yes, we do invest in development at that stage. And, you know, certainly that's something that we're open to.
Thank you very much. In your presentation, you mentioned that you're looking for different genres, but do you have maybe any particular ones that you kind of like, or it works just better for you guys?
Well, I mean, obviously we've talked about sports, and I did particularly call out shooters and racing there. From what I know of the guys who attend White Nights, you know, my experience is there's some guys who like do really high quality 3D work, often in those sorts of genres. This is not something that we tend to do in-house, although we do have a facility in Genova in Italy. So I would say, you know, those 3D, really, we saw in the Ultimate Golf example, you know, it's a sports game, but probably not the kind of sports game that we would ever make ourselves. So, you know, finding that application, if you like, of the sort of technical ability to create those sort of 3D worlds, whether it be in shooting or in racing or a combination of the two, I think that would be a very powerful thing. From what I'm guessing, you know, without being able to see everyone in the room, assuming that people have tuned in, what people are actually sort of working on, those things might be of great interest to you from the White Nights audience.
Thanks a lot, Jamie. And one more question, maybe not as much games related, but more like management wise. You mentioned that you have 4 offices around the world, right?
Yes.
With lots of people working, like with different cultural backgrounds. On the level of decision making, is it ever a problem? I mean, such diversity in your company, and how do you deal with it? I mean, everyone's got different opinions and maybe views and tastes and
Yes.
everything.
Yes, well, I would say that obviously we have, a good governance structure. We have clear roles and responsibilities in the organization. As in any organization, we're always looking to improve our practice. I think, and we're always very keen to be the sort of best versions of ourselves that we can be,
Mm-hmm.
which involves, a high degree of professionalism. And I mentioned this at the start, humility. I think it's part of our company values. I am, by nature, sort of quite a loud, sometimes arrogant person. So it's a kind of challenge to me to remember to be humble, I think, and to
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the luck that I've had in working in this company and being in the position I'm in, to
Mm-hmm.
respect and understand, the trials and tribulations of the partners that we work with. And I think, there's a clear case, I would say, active at the moment. In the case of Ultimate Golf, we're working with some extremely professional people with whom I don't always necessarily agree creatively,
Mm-hmm.
but I trust them, and I trust them to know more than me. So I might sort of suggest things or recommend things. But in the end, that they have an amazing experience, and they have delivered and continue to deliver an amazing, live operational
Mm-hmm.
product. So I think it's decision making is always something that can get caught up in lots of conversations and prevarication and people not wanting to make decisions or not. This is my job. This is my job to sort of find those bottlenecks, to speed up decisions, to challenge people who have authority but aren't making decisions. And so it's always something that can be improved, but definitely something that we're very conscious of, especially when working with. It's bad enough, if things take a long time or are unclear internally, let alone externally. It's even more difficult to
Mm-hmm.
fathom why things are happening or not happening. So communication is absolutely crucial in improving that over time.
Thanks a lot, Jamie, because that's a very important question, I guess, for many actually companies in the gaming industry. Such a variety
Yes.
of people, like from literally all over the world. Like even now at the conference, we've got like wow, so many countries. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for your answers, for a wonderful presentation. And actually, as a matter of fact, I know that there are more questions for you in the chat. Sadly, we can't read them out loud right now because we're short in time. But if you can, please join the chat after this lecture, and I'm sure people will be happy to have you there. Thanks a lot
Thanks, Eleanor.
again, and hopefully see you soon. Have a good day.